All right, so I thought it'd be kind of fun because I've been reading a lot of like classic Hawkman comics from those big DC showcases. Remember those, like the big big collected trades Marvel was doing too with Black and White. DC did it with DC Showcase, and now they're doing like Marvel and DC are now doing like epic collections, which are the same thing only they're in color. But yeah, so I've been reading some classic like Silver Age Hawkman comics, and they're pretty fun. They're pretty fun. So it kind of got me thinking like what I'd like to do. Like what would I like to do if I could write Hawkman? Like just a random idea. Now keep in mind, Hawkman's not one of my favorite superheroes. I mean, I like him, but he's not in my top 10 or even I don't even know if he'd be in my top 20. In DC's heroes, but like it's always fun to see Carter Hall show up in any capacity. But he's not like my go-to character. But I was just kind of thinking, like, what would I like to do if I could write any character? Like, so if I went to DC and they were like, "Here, we're doing a Hawkman comic. Go write it, rookie. Go. It's gonna get canceled anyway in about 12 issues. Go have fun." Because no, let's be real, no one gives a shit about Hawkman, and people will say, "Oh, but I love Hawkman." Do you? Do you? Do you? Oh, you. Oh, was that you don't? Oh, what's that? You don't? Okay. So I don't know. Maybe like that's the thing. Like what I would like to do. One of the things I like about the idea of writing a Hawkman comic is that no one's going to give a shit what you do with it. Like really, like Hawkman, like a Hawkman comic is just kind of like, all right, it's there. Like, has Hawkman had a successful comic run in a while? Like, hell, even when he had, like, back in the Silver Age, they had to put him with the Atom later on before they ended the book. So, what more? What more do you want? Anyway, so, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the let's talk about like just my idea for a Hawkman comic run. So what I'd like to do, I think like we've done enough with the whole origin story. I think we've done enough with the whole like, oh, is he a reincarnated Egyptian prince? Is he an alien? Is he this or that? What I'd like to do is just like, I would be like, I'm Carter Hall. My origin is messed up. I still got my wife. Shaira. She is dated, but I would have it because, yeah, in Scott Snyder's run, it's been kind of clear that Shaira is kind of macking on John Jones, Martian Manhunter. So I think it would be like with Carter, it would be like, all right, this has happened before. She's broken up with me. Hawkman's sad. So I'm just kind of rebuilding. Carter Hall's just kind of rebuilding his life. That's what I'd like to do. Is just have it that Carter is kind of like putting the pieces back to his life and kind of being like, you know, I've been a slave to destiny for so many years. Like for so many years, I don't even know. Like I've been an Egyptian prince. I've been an alien cop. I've been a superhero. I've been a member of the JSA and JLA. But Carter's whole thing would be in my run would be like, you know, it's just basically been I've been kind of feeling like I've been running someone else's life for the longest time. So maybe it's time I figure out what I want to do. So I would have Hawkman back in Midway City, the city where he protects, and just kind of like going back to basics. Like, I would definitely play with a few things. The first and foremost is that I would have Carter Hall rebuild his life as like a cop at first, and you may be thinking, really, cop, this day and age, really, multi, that's a good idea. Hang on, there's a reason for that. I'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, he would because his whole thing originally in the Silver Age comics was Carter Hall was a Thanagarian police officer learning from the world's how the people of Earth dispensed law and order. So it would be like, that was my whole shtick at the beginning of when I started out as Hawkman. That was my whole shtick. So why don't I just do that again? So maybe, and this time for real, be a cop on the side while being a superhero. So Carter does that, and the other thing I would like to play with is that, and this is something I guess Kevin Smith did and no one's really played with, is that I would really tackle Carter Hall's conservative aspect, because for those who don't know, Hawkman is like a really conservative superhero, one of the few openly very conservative superheroes. And the whole crux of my storyline would be Carter learning to change as a person. Like, I would have it that Hawkman is put in a new world. You know, he's put in a world, he's trying to be a cop on Earth, and he's going by a lot of conservative ideals that are not really working and not really helping the people. And he's starting to see that maybe there should be some defunding of the police or something like that, and it would really like mess up with him that, you know, all these beliefs he's had for so many years have just kind of, you know, been shot back in his face. And because for the longest time he said, like, yeah, I've always, like, you know, I've backed the police officers and I've backed, you know, all of these ideals, and then he's starting to see that his ideals he once had are really messed up in this day and age. Like, he's really, like, he's starting to see that I've been backing the wrong horse for the longest time. And one of the major things I really play with is him and Alan coming to blows. Like, because as we all know, is that Alan since the New 52 has been, you know, made into a gay character, they have brought back Obsidian and Jade, which, yay! Obsidian and Jade are back. Thanks DC. That was nice. And they are back as his kids, but Alan himself is still like, hey, I was with women who I thought I loved, but there was something about me I never knew. So I'd really like to like touch on like Hawkman getting back with the JSA, and especially like him being awkward around Alan. Like, he's like, your lifestyle is just weird and gross to me, and him and Alan just kind of like, and Alan like, dude, you never had a problem with me before, so what's going on now? Like, you're just mad because, you know, you're just mad at something that doesn't even affect your life. So what's the problem here, Carter? You know, don't take your anger out on me because Shair ain't sleeping with you no more. And that would be a running thing. Like, the whole crux of my storyline would be Carter. Like, the whole underline of the storyline would be Carter not so much dealing with like multiple lives or a new origin. It would just be Carter is living in a new world that is changing around him, and his old ideals are no longer like viable. They just don't work anymore in this world, and they never have. That's the thing, is that his ideals and his thoughts have been kind of just been, yeah, either been completely corrupted or have been completely have always been messed up, and he's just never wanted to accept it. So it's kind of like that idea of just kind of really playing with that. That would be the whole angle of the story, really. And I wouldn't be trying to do like, oh, this is going to be the definitive origin of Hawkman now, or I'm going to really take Hawkman to new places. It's going to be like, no, he's this uber conservative asshole who's learning to change his now I wouldn't have it like, I wouldn't have him be like Green Arrow, but I would have him be like a lot more like cool around people. Like, he's like, now he's starting to be, you know, calmer around others, and like he's starting to accept other people, especially Alan. And I would also really like to play with, I'd really bring back his friendship with Ray Palmer as well. And yeah, of course I'd love to use like Shadow Thief in the storyline, or maybe like his classic villains like Gentleman Ghost. Oh man, I would love to write Gentleman Ghost in a Hawkman story. Or Makan. If you guys remember, Makan was this big hulking alien who was kind of like set up like DC's Fin Fang Foom, but no one did anything with him. He usually fought Hawkman back in the Silver Age. So I'd like to like do a revamp of Makan and maybe do that for him. But other than that, that's kind of just a few ideas I would have. That's just a random few ideas. So yeah, there you go. That's my idea. That's my quick pitch for a Hawkman comic. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of this? Do you guys like it, hate it, and what would you do with a Hawkman comic? I don't know, I just felt like, hey, no one gives a shit about Hawkman. Let me give a shit about Hawkman. Anyway, so once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.